Alright, so the roots of the equation. In order to determine the roots, we know that we're going to do the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. And we know this is a, b, and c. We know if we have imaginary, the discriminant is equal to 0. I'm sorry, is equal to a negative number. If it's real, rational, and equal, then it's 0. Unequal is perfect square. And irrational, any other perfect square. Any other number. When we plug these in, we should end up with 153. And so we get irrational. Alright. What is the value of angle C? We know that we're going to use a version of cosine. Well, cosines where it's cosine C is equal to C squared minus A squared minus B squared over negative 2AB. And plugging in your values, we get 7 squared minus 3 squared minus 5 squared all divided by negative 2 times 3 times 5. Make sure that since this is cosine, we want the angle, we're going to do the inverse function, and we end up with 120. And we're done. Alright, next one. For 18, I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to rewrite it correctly, so it's really 1 over x minus 1, all divided by x minus 1 over 1. The reason we wrote it this way is because we have a complex fraction. Whenever we have a complex fraction, multiply through by the LCD, which is just in this case x. So we end up with 1 minus x over x times x minus 1. We know these cancel. When they cancel, since they're opposite signs, we're left with negative 1 on top. So we're left with negative 1 over x. Good. Alright, fraction equivalence. We have a radical in the denominator. And we can't keep the radical in the denominator, so we're going to multiply through by 3a squared b, numerator and denominator, 3a squared b. And we didn't actually have to include the a squared because the radical a squared is just a, but we will, just for the argument's sake. So we're left with 3a radical 3b. Denominator we're left with 3a squared b. Stop. The 3's cancel. This a takes out the square, and we're left with the radical 3b over ab, which gives 3. Which graph represents a one-to-one function? The one-to-one function has to pass the vertical line and horizontal line tests. So this one's failing the horizontal, this one's failing the vertical, this one's failing the horizontal, this one passes both. So we pass the horizontal, and we're passing the vertical. Sides of a parallelogram are 10 and 18. The angle in between is 46 degrees. So we have a parallelogram. This is what we just completed. We know this side is 10, this side is 18, and the angle included is 46. Now we know an area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 AB sine C. since we have two triangles, our area is just AB sine C. So it's 10 times 18 sine 46. When we do that, we end up with about 129. Alright, if you have a point, this rule means we're going to up 5 units. So that means we're going to take that y value and increase it by 5 units. So we have negative 1, negative 3 plus 5 gives us negative 1 comma 2. Good. Alright. The graph shown below is that cubic equation. We want to know the product of the roots. So we know the roots happen on the x-axis. So there's one root. There's another one. And here's the third one. So we have negative 1, 2, 3. Negative 1 times 2 times 3 is negative 6. Conjugate. Whenever we take the conjugate, we change the sign of the I term or the square root term. So it's negative 2 minus 3i. That is so the i's will cancel each other out. Okay. Common ratio, geometric sequence, we know the a to the nth term is equal to a1 r to the n minus 1. So that gives us 64 equals 27 r to the third, because they told us the 64 the fourth term. So r is equal to 4/3. Alright, 26. Which graph represents one complete cycle of that? We know that we're talking about the period. It's going to be 2 pi over the absolute value of b, which in our case is 2 pi over 3 pi. So we get a period, one complete curve in 2/3 pi. So that's a complete, that's in 4 pi over 3. That's what that period is. Because I'm adding up this section and this section. This section is 1/3, 1/3 is 2/3. That's our answer. This is 2 pi over 3. Is that period, and this period is 4 over 3. So there's 3 is our answer. Two functions are inverses of each other. That means they have to apply the rule of f of g of x equals x. That means that if I'm going to take one of the functions, put it inside the other, then we would end up with something like sine of cosine of x equals x. And we know that's false. If we do that for choice 2, 3 plus 8 times 3 minus 8x. Does that equal x? No, it does not. Choice 3. We have e to the ln of x. Now e is an exponential. ln means natural log. These are inverses of each other, so our power rule states that x comes in front, and that is true. So choice 3 is the answer. Hope this helped. Good luck on your part 2s.